It's a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank member FDIC, our amazing partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. It's a Victory Monday, and it is indeed a Matter Day. Matt Swanson, Matt Hamilton, Maddie Lane, Victory Matter Day. Matthew Lane, how we doing?
Listen, we're doing good. We're a little confused by Brock Purdy throwing some interceptions here against some weird coverages and some weird play designs. So that's why we are late. I understand. I see some people in chat saying, "Hey, they're kind of late." We were confused. Okay, we were as confused as Mr. Brock Purdy was there, and that's a derogatory. That's a derogatory, Mr. Brock Purdy. That's not complimentary like it is with Mr. Kareem Hunt. Okay, I just want to get that out of the way. So yeah, we're a little confused, but generally vibes are high because the Chiefs won a football game for the first time in what feels like a decade. So we're doing good today. Hamilton, I expect you to match the highs energy that we have going on over the past 24 hours.
Oh man, I mean, this was it wasn't just a win to get back in the win column. The way it happened was just, with the way that these one-score games have gone for them, to have it end like that, to have them just take complete control in that fourth quarter and overtime was something special.
Yeah, it was, man. Like, I think there's so much about that game. Thinking about it a little bit more, and we're about to get all your thoughts on it, Hammy. But
yeah,
just seeing like the response from this team with their backs completely against the wall, because it's felt like for 3 weeks that this team's had their back against the wall. 4 weeks when you the Bills game. Back against the wall for the 1 seed. Bye week, whatever. But Broncos back up against the wall for the division. And then Colts back up against the wall for the playoffs. And they finally kind of break through with enough is enough 10 minutes of football. And it was a sight to behold. Hamilton, let's just jump right in, man. Lots to talk about today. This is the only lab before the Chiefs play next. Because we're gonna be out on Friday, so this is a jam-packed episode. We gotta look ahead a little bit to Dallas at some point here, but let's start with this, buddy. We got all our takes out for most of them. It's time for you to cook here. What were your thoughts about this big game, Chiefs Colts?
I mean, it was an interesting game because, right, like for the first 3 quarters, it just felt like squandered opportunity after squandered opportunity. And on the other side, the Colts didn't have a ton of opportunities, but cashed in on every single one of them that they got. So, for 3 quarters of that game, you're thinking, this is just not their year. It was kind of emblematic of how this entire season has gone for them. And then in that fourth quarter and overtime, the way they were able to take over, I mean, Spags of 4 straight 3-and-outs to end the game from that Colts offense, pretty much completely taking away Jonathan Taylor there. The red zone stuff has got to get cleaned up a little bit. You can't, miss that many opportunities in the red zone, expect to win consistently, but still the way they were able to move the ball, they had some answers for man coverage finally, especially late in that game. It was, I don't know if I've ever seen a more lopsided finish to a game than that. I think, what was it, like 283-18 in total yards for the fourth quarter and overtime, something like that. And we saw the balance that we'd kind of been asking for from this offense. I guess that's my big takeaway beyond just finishing the game and digging and making those plays that we've become so accustomed to seeing from an Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes team. It was the balance to this offense, way more under center, way more commitment to the run. And it paid off. It did help open things. So even though the run game wasn't spectacular, it was efficient and it did open things up, I think, for this passing game. So hopefully that will be something we see more of going forward here.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs felt like for the first time this year, they kind of looked in the mirror a little bit and said, hey, what are we doing? Like, why isn't this working? What are the easy buttons? What are the things that not just fans, but like the most obvious things that we aren't doing to make this work? And like, it kind of felt like they leaned into those things a little bit more. We saw Spags, it felt like, send a few more pressures regardless of what was going to happen. We saw them lean on a running game that, this was probably the least efficient run game the Chiefs have had all year. I'd have to look at the numbers like week by week, but it was also simultaneously the best. Like the Colts actually started, I don't know if I want to say respecting the run, but they at least considered that runs were coming. And I do think that opened stuff up down the stretch when the game got closer to a neutral game script. So it, in some ways, the least efficient run game they had, but it played out the best because they stuck to it for so long. As the game went on, I think you saw a lot less tight ends staying into block and then release, and they actually started getting out in routes. They didn't do much play action, but it didn't feel like they were forcing the deep shots. Like they just did a lot of the stuff that I don't want to say complaining, but that people were suggesting. And lo and behold, it took 3.5 quarters. But lo and behold, after 3.5 quarters of turning in mud and not being able to punch it in the red zone, they started putting points up and they were able to complete this comeback. So I don't know. Maybe the things that all 31 other teams do can work for you.
Traditional route concepts. Like, what are these? I will say, like, the Chiefs might have pulled away faster if the Chiefs had just thrown at Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner as much as Tony Romo wanted them to. You know, that I think that would have really put it over the edge a lot earlier. But alas, whatever. You know, here we are. Yeah, that was such a massive win for this football team. And seeing them respond offensively and I mean, we make all these jokes, right? And like they're still like statistically one of the best offenses in football. Yeah. That's what's so funny about all of this is like we have our complaints, we have our issues with the structure of the offense, we have our issues with like the run game and the usage and lack of under center, and here they are. They're still one of the best offenses in football statistically. Absolutely wild to think about that. Hemi, anything else on this game? Any other high level?
I do think like this was just like big picture wise, the way they won this game, I think was so important, because if they did just like kind of control and completely blow them out from the start, I still don't know that it solves that thing that's gnawing in the back of your brain, right? Like what's happening down the stretch of these games, like what's going on with this team when it's close and it matters. And to have that happen, and it's weird to think like this team could have its confidence shaken a little bit, but you go through what they've gone through in these last few close games and going back to the Super Bowl, that does start, I think, to get in the back of your head a little bit, where it's not just that blind faith of just this is going to work out because we're the Chiefs, you know. I think that left them a little bit, and you could see it in some of these games, and just once they got the ball rolling, it just didn't stop. And it felt like those teams again. And I do think like I you know, we'll see if it translates going forward, but I do think that was an important moment for this team to have that again. It settles you down a little bit and it gives you that confidence back in these close games.
Yeah, I'm with Hamilton on that one for sure. And something I did want to talk about before we like got into the nitty gritty is just the feeling and the vibe that this team has to have after that game. And even just watching them and like walk through the tunnels and the locker room clips and stuff that you've seen like that, or like going back towards the locker room, it obviously meant something because it kept the season alive, but it felt like for the first time this year, when that like major adversary hit, they were able to fight through it, right? Like they were actually able to push through it, get a 1-score win, which is silly, but like I'm sure here you're at week 12. I'm sure that's kind of on the back of some guys' mind that they keep losing all these close games over and over again. And like, yeah, I'm sure they felt great after beating the Commanders and beating the Raiders and probably even the Lions game earlier this year. But this one was a little bit different because their backs were against the wall. They were already supposed to have turned the corner and been on the like their travel up to the peak of what they were going to be for the season, and they just hadn't been there. So being behind in this game, then having that final Kareem Hunt turnover, Mr. Kareem Hunt turnover, the fumble, but then rallying back from that, I do wonder if like that whole thing is kind of the spark that they needed, not only to turn this game around, but like that could ultimately turn the season around. And not just because that happened, they're going to play better, but now they're going to feel a little bit more confident. They're going to believe in themselves a little bit more. And you can just see things starting to roll, because there's just a difference when you are playing with confidence and when you're not, or when you're playing more free. And it felt like as this game went on, they got to that point, and that's when you really started to see them make the comeback.
Felt like a snap out of it moment finally, where like I think I've said it, like like this team is like stuck in second year, and it just felt like they've just been stuck, and like there's like some level of expectation almost to that they were just gonna show up and they were gonna go be the Kansas City Chiefs of old, and like the other team was just gonna not respond the same way that it's happened, right? Like we've seen this team multiple times over the last 2 seasons. When it gets into these close game situations, the Chiefs are going to come out on top. The other team's going to make a critical error. Patrick Mahomes is going to complete that drive. All these things, we see it so many times. We saw it so many times last year where this team was 10-0 in 1-score games. And then this year, they've just fell flat on their face so many times, and regression came to them. The 1-score, we didn't really buy into the 1-score game. I'm not going to call it a myth, but we didn't buy into it the same way that other teams might, because we've seen this team just be so good, so consistently in all these 1-score games. And they were it felt like they got stuck out of that gear. And it was like, it took losing the 1 seed or putting themselves severely disadvantaged in the 1 seed. And then it took the division game for them to finally, it took most of that Colts game where it just finally was like, oh, we got to go take this thing. Like that's what it felt like. They finally felt like the aggressors again. They felt like in control of that football game, and Spags put together an absolute masterclass for this game. And we got a lot to get into that, because like we're gonna spend a whole bunch of time talking about what happened at Arrowhead. And speaking of Arrowhead, I'm calling all Chiefs fans. You could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss of the Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now and enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you could score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We are going to talk about Steve Spagnuolo and that brilliant Chief fence right after this.
I'm Brett Goodwin, one of the owners of The Learning Tree. The Learning Tree is a neighborhood toy store in Prairie Village, Kansas. This has been here in this location since 2000s, and my husband Alan and I purchased the store in 2023. Alan and I grew up in families where we've always wanted to have a business together. Alan grew up, for instance, his parents had a jewelry store. I worked in a local toy store here in Prairie Village when I was growing up. When this opportunity happened in 2023, we knew right away we wanted to contact them and pursue the store. We wouldn't have been able to get the store without the team at Emprise Bank. From the day we contacted them, they knew what we needed to do, which was very helpful. I would absolutely recommend the team at Emprise Bank to anyone looking to secure a business. We worked with Emprise from day one. They were extremely helpful. They were always great resources. We talk to them frequently. They know the area. They're very friendly. We know who we're going to talk with, and they know what we need to do. We hope we'll see you at the Learning Tree.
Missouri, big news. It's almost your turn to get in the game because DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Show Me State on December 1st. Soon you'll get fast payouts when you win, a safe and secure app that's easy to use, and promos that keep the action going all season long. No wonder it's America's top-rated sportsbook app. The countdown is on. New customers can sign up right now and score $300 in bonus bets on launch day. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN. New Missouri customers sign up today and score $300 in bonus bets once we're live. That's code KCSN. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are not withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
We spend plenty of time talking about the question marks on the defensive side of the ball. We talk about the pass rush and all the issues that they've had. We talk about some of the inconsistencies in the secondary, who steps up at safety position. Probably need to give them some more flowers than we have this season. And I think this week was a massive, massive game for the Kansas City Chiefs defense. It was rough early, gave up some points early, gave up a touchdown drive in the first half. One of those we're going to just put entirely on Patrick Mahomes in that RPO. But, man, that Chiefs defense was absolutely dominant in the second half of that game. and their response to Kareem Hunt's fumble, Chris Jones's response to Kareem Hunt's fumble, that was like that has a chance to be a defining moment for this Kansas City Chiefs team. The 2025 Chiefs was that response there. And Matty Lane, that defense, man, I think they put together an exceptional performance in a lot of different ways.
Oh, I mean, the defense was phenomenal throughout this entire game. It kind of felt like, and I know early in the game, it seemed like the Colts were kind of moving the ball at will, but that's what Spags does kind of at the start of every game, right? Like every team's going to come in and have their script. And sure, he could throw more at it to slow them down, but I think he really just tries to process what the other team's trying to do, and then he tries to squeeze it out from there. And I think what you saw was the Chiefs saw exactly what the Colts wanted to do, and they had the perfect response. They were going to stop Jonathan Taylor as much as humanly possible, better than anybody else has done all season long. I mean, what his success rate, I believe, was like under 30% on rushes. He was getting hit in the backfield more than he was getting hit 2 yards down the field. Like they couldn't get anything going on the ground. I think half of his runs into stack boxes were unsuccessful. 4 out of 6 runs into light boxes were unsuccessful. They just couldn't get the ground game going whatsoever. And then it became a game of, hey, can Daniel Jones beat you? Is Daniel Jones going to be able to beat you? And to Spags' credit, once again, yeah, there was some success early in this game that Daniel Jones had, but they just kept throwing stuff at him. They just kept giving him different looks, kept giving him new blitzes to worry about, new coverage rotations to worry about. Oh, here's Chris Jones flashing on this third down. Not all game, but on very important pivotal moments. Here comes Chris Jones ripping through the interior. What are you going to do? And hey, shockingly, Daniel Jones was not ready for that situation. I know that it comes as a surprise to NFL fans around the world, but it kind of feels like Spags did exactly what everybody this year has known what you have to do to stop the Colts. Just many teams hadn't been able to stop Jonathan Taylor and they make Daniel Jones beat you. And they had no easy answers. The Colts had nothing easy they could get going when they kept losing yards or getting 1 yard on first down and were constantly facing second and long.
Yeah, and the ability to go and the willingness to go man coverage too, and they got him in those third downs, those predictable situations, and the Colts couldn't really create a lot of separation there. Not many teams have played a lot of man coverage against the Colts this year, so I thought that was a big factor. And I do think you're right, that response to the fumble, I think both by the defense and by the offense was huge when the offense got the ball back on that next drive and goes down and scores. But I thought what was equally huge in this game was the Chiefs get that ball back. I think it was like a little under 6 minutes left. And you're thinking, all right, they're down 3. Mahomes has the ball. Here we go. And they immediately go 3 and out. And it just felt like that. That Broncos game crept into me a little bit right there. Those back-to-back 3 and outs when they, that's everything you want. Your 1-score game with the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. Like this is everything you dream of. And they go 3 and out again. And that was my moment where I'm like, oh shit, maybe it's not going to happen. Because I felt like at that point it was going to happen. And then the defense comes right back and gets another stop and gets the ball right back. And then that's when that's when they turned it up again. But yeah, it wasn't just, shutting down Jonathan Taylor and everything. I mean, he had 5 carries for 1 yard, I think, in the fourth quarter and overtime, which is insane to think about. But it was these moments where the whole season is hanging in the balance. And not only did they get stops, I mean, the Colts did absolutely nothing. I think it was, just 12 plays they ran in the fourth quarter and overtime for 18 yards. That's it. And this is the number, an offense that's been whatever else you want to say about the smoke and mirrors of it all, the Jonathan Taylor, like this was the number 1 offense in the NFL and you held them to 18 yards and 12 plays when it mattered most.
I can't say I'm too surprised that the Chiefs were able to significantly slow down Jonathan Taylor. Like this team that Spags is just so good and so dialed in on stopping the run game when he wants to.
Yeah.
And I think the front 7 played a great game. I think Leo Chenal did some good things, being that X factor, trying to help, settle in and stop the run. I think he did some good things in that game. But it just feels like when Spags wants to go out and sell out to sell and sell out's not even the right word. They have a good game plan together when they're going to try to take the run game away from a team. Like they've done it all year. Oh, Hamilton,
Oh no, I was gonna say like they did it. They did it in the Super Bowl. They took Saquon out of the game, and it was they made Jalen Hurts try to beat him. And unfortunately, they weren't able to hold up on the back end enough. But yeah, I mean that's what Spags is able to do. He's shown it, and I do
Yeah.
think also this is the best Chris Jones has played in a long time too.
Yeah, no,
Which makes a huge difference there.
That went a long way too, for sure. And it's just like I wasn't all that surprised. I wasn't all that surprised that that they were able to really stop the run the way that they were. And it doesn't matter who it is, what running back they're lining up against. That's just the nature of it. Like Steve Spagnuolo is able to do that, and I think that put Dan Jones in a. And I, by the way, I think you tip the cap to Steichen, because the real big long touchdown drive they put together was a 3rd and 1 leak to Ashton Dulin.
Yeah,
like that was the big play, and I think they scored on that. That was their big touchdown drive, and that was on another 3rd and 1. They put themselves in some 3rd down situations, and that's the one they got. So I think putting some pressure on Dan Jones, I think, was a big deal. Dan Jones had. He did not look confident. He did not look comfortable for the entirety of that second half. And I'll point to this one moment, because we talked about it in the post game show, and we thought it was like, hey, look, it kind of looks like the Chiefs were really late rotating, and it was like this like real like, hey, we're showing one thing, and now we're gonna just real quickly get into man coverage, and we're gonna move Jalen Watson into the slot. We're gonna kick Brian Cook out there to cover the outside receiver, and it looked like, hey, look, we're walking guys up. They actually had 1 over 2. It was Trent McDuffie was 1 over 2 on the other side of it.
Because Jaden Hicks crossed the formation to go to the other side. I mean, like, I don't know what he thought where he was going, but yeah, Hicks went from the left safety down to the right slot, and they're like, wait, we got a bunch of guys here now. What's going on? And Trent McDuffie's having to scream. Thankfully, Jonathan Taylor was not aligned any earlier than he was, or that was a pitch and catch for a positive play.
Well, it was just funny though, because like whatever it looked like, it was like whatever the Chiefs were doing. But the funny thing I thought was Dan Jones also did not look super confident or ready just at all with what he was seeing even there either. He just looked a little shook up, and maybe it was just simply. I don't think it was just John Taylor needing to get set. I think it was all of it. Like he wasn't really ready to pull the trigger with 1 over 2 over here. He just didn't look settled or confident at all, and he winds up not even looking that side. He backfoots a slant to Jalen or on Jalen Watson, and it's not even remotely close. But I just thought it was funny how unsettled that Dan Jones looked the entirety of that game.
And it was especially amazing because those first 2 touchdown throws were pretty damn good throws, and he looked settled then, and they were able, you think you get those couple early, you're confident, you're locked in, you're ready to go, and they were able to rattle him from there, which makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, well, and like to Hamilton's point, right? Like the Chiefs' first down run defense is actually really good this year. Like that is something they do really well, is their first down run defense. It's second and third down, a little bit more up in the air, but the first down run defense is good. But the issue you ran into against the Broncos is when you're trying to still take that away, you give up stuff through the air. And this game, you had the same concern going in, but the secondary played significantly better. Yeah, there's some plays where we can pick out throughout the game where they weren't perfect. And like, Trent McDuffie giving up a touchdown to a third string tight end, not your best look, right? Shamari Connor completely losing the slot wide receiver on a leak play as if he was actually in there to block with a tight alignment. Probably not your best look, right?
Pretty awesome though. Like
overall,
that visual was kind of cool.
Overall, though, the secondary played really well. Daniel Jones completed exactly 1 pass in this game over 10 yards, not off play action. It was a touchdown, the tight end. It was from the 4-yard line, but it did travel over 10 yards. He didn't complete a single. Oh no, sorry. He hit Alec Pierce. I believe it was off of play action. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. Those are his only 2 passes over 10 yards in this entire game. Everything else was held below, so they couldn't push the ball downfield. Christian Roland-Wallace continues to play really well in the slot. And so I think the Chiefs have finally figured out their secondary rotation, which is something I did really want to see. It sucks that it comes at the expense of Noel Williams no longer playing, but I think the Chiefs probably like their versatility a little bit better with McDuffie and Watson still outside. That probably leaves a lot more zone, man, mixing up and changing up your coverages at the ready. So they figured out their rotation, the secondary, and it's hard to argue against it right now. They just went up against a wide receiver room that has a bunch of different body types that Alec Pierce has been a really good deep threat. Josh Downs is a very good underneath separating player to get open. Michael Pittman can make plays at the catch point, and none of these guys really felt like they left a significant mark on this game because the Chiefs secondary, I thought, did a really good job, and Brian Cook played well, saving a touchdown by not getting completely blazed by Jonathan Taylor in the open field. Only half blazed. He got like half cooked, but he was able to save a touchdown, and they ended up being only a field goal drive, and that's probably the difference between getting back into this game and not. So, yeah, kudos to the secondary. I thought across the board played really well.
Anything else there, Hamilton?
No, I think I'm ready to dig into some of this offense.
We will dig into that offense a ton here. But before we do that, just a quick reminder, everyone. The Solo KC Holiday Raffle is live. And it's a thing that we do every single year to try to help kids at Operation Breakthrough have a fantastic Christmas. Our friends at Dick's Sporting Goods also are a partner with all of this. And so we donate a bunch of things, a bunch of items from Dick's Sporting Goods. We go out there with all the money raised. And we try to get as much stuff as we possibly can so we can help a bunch of kids at Operation Breakthrough who otherwise maybe wouldn't have the new pair of shoes, new sweatpants, a football, basketball, all kinds of stuff, giving them a chance to have some of these things. And so what we do is we do a raffle, 1 ticket for $10, 5 tickets for $25, 15 for $50, 50 tickets for $100, and you also get a subscription to KCSN's premium newsletter. But you get entered into a raffle with your donation, and we have an insane amount of prizes, signed jerseys, signed memorabilia from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. You've got Keanu Reeves signed Matrix poster. Like, we got all kinds of really cool prizes this year. It's the sickest lineup of prizes I think we've ever had, and you get a chance to win those just by your donations. We appreciate everyone supporting this every single year. It means a lot to us, and we'd love you to consider again donating to help a bunch of kids in the KC area, love on our city a little bit with the donations. The link is in the description of the show. If you want to donate, givebutter.com/KCSN. Soul is also the link, or you can Venmo KC Sports Network with your donation, and you'll be entered to be part of this raffle to potentially win some stuff, but do a lot of good. All right. I think it's offense time. How about that? Yeah, pretty tale of two halvesy kind of performance offensively. They started to figure some things out as the game went on. Moved the ball a little bit between the 20s, but the red zone was abysmal this against Lou Anarumo. And hey, look, man, Big Lou, dude. He makes the Chiefs fight, scratch, and claw for absolutely everything. He's got the whole thing dialed in. They're dirty enough, just a little dirty, to where it just kind of irritates them just a little bit. They force, a lot of work between the 20s. They're going to flood zones. They're going to drop 8. They're going to pick the right time to bring a little pressure. Lou Anarumo is just, he did a tremendous job, but as the game wore on, I think the Chiefs figured some things out. They found some things. They found their red zone touchdown, and they came out of this with a victory. A tough, well-earned game, well-earned victory, and a tough, well-earned 23 points against a very difficult defense to go against, especially considering they now have 2 very good corners lined up for them.
Yeah, it's. I feel like bend but don't break is derogatory. I don't love that term, but this is the best version of that Lou Anarumo always gives this team. And that's part of the reason for the red zone struggles, right? But yeah, I thought they still had some issues against man. They had some big plays against it as the game wore on, but it really was. I felt like they wore this defense down, and I can't remember the last time I felt like that. Watching the Chiefs offense, that they wore an opposing defense out. But yeah, 90 plays. Again, the run game wasn't spectacular, but it kept, they were gaining positive yards every play. The under center stuff was real. And I thought Patrick, again, in those big moments, he really came alive. There was still the pocket movement stuff is a little weird to me right now with him. It just seems like he doesn't have the best feel for the pocket. Even the throw to Worthy, again, it was a great completion. It was a huge moment in that game on third down, backed up in your own end. But even that, like, I don't know why he stepped up the way he did there and made that throw on the run. And if he's, if he just slides up in that pocket and delivers it, um, you know, not on the run, that might have been a touchdown. So there's still some stuff there. I want to see him get a little bit more comfortable in the pocket going forward, and figure that part out. But obviously, like, you can't complain about 500 yards and finding a way to win and all that. But there are still some things. I think there is still a lot of room for growth in this offense beyond just the red zone stuff, which is obvious. Like, you have to be able to finish. You can't kick this many field goals going forward and make a run to a Super Bowl. But there were some big signs of growth out of this thing. I don't think it's fully there yet, but some big steps in the right direction.
Listen, over half the Chiefs' runs were from under center. Okay, like that's a big win. That's a big win for us. It was 16 under center.
And the run pass ratio under center was significant. Like,
that's
it was like
something
16,
that needs to fix to two,
well,
I think, right?
Well, I think it was 16-2. Whatever the math is on that, 85-15 pass or run pass. It won't ever get balanced, but like, you got some tendencies to break now, and like that could be beneficial. That could actually be pretty lucrative down the stretch, if we're being honest. But
yeah, I don't think they're gonna drop back pass out of center though. So it's just it was a game where they didn't do much play action, and that's probably a credit to Big Lou. I don't think in this game, I'm assuming Mahomes, because it makes sense to see on the field, but maybe it's anything, didn't feel great about making their quarterback turn their back to whatever Lou was going to be changing out there, or like, how the picture was going to change. And so that was probably a little more game specific, but they had like their lowest number of play action attempted passes all season in this game. And we know they don't really have much of an under center drop back game. Again, we talked about it last week. I have no idea if that's Andy or Mahomes. I don't know what that is, but so yeah, it kind of made sense that they skewed that way from under center. So yeah, that part was good. The passing stuff to me is really weird, because if you go watch just like all third downs or even second and longs, there's not really a lot of plays that were missed, right? Like, it felt really bad, but all these plays that were being missed that Tony Romo kept highlighting during the game, or that people are talking about, were all like 1st and 10 plays. And I almost wonder if that's just being chalked up to this team has been so conditioned that every drive is going to be a 14 play, 80-yard field goal or touchdown drive. But like, everything is about positive yards and not taking risks. Because like I said, I watched every third down and every second and long. If you just limit it to those kind of passing plays, not a lot's open. And so, yeah, Mahomes does get a little antsy in the pocket, but I wonder if it's less being uncomfortable in the pocket and more just zero trust in anybody to uncover as the play progresses, right? Like, okay, we ran mesh for the third time in a row on, this quarter. I see that they are not going to get picked on the shallow. I'm just going to move now because no one's going to get open next, right? Like, the design doesn't get someone free. I'm going to go ahead and start moving to create a second throwing window to see if my mobility allows someone to come open. And it works plenty of times throughout a game. I will say, when we're going to kind of go down to Mahomes before we can kind of, I guess, pivot to things that start to work better, I think that Mahomes' biggest issue this year for me is he's a little too unwilling to throw the ball into tight windows, right? Like, there's a couple plays every game where like your guy has not even a step. Like, the DB is within an arm's reach. So like, I get it. It's a tight window. That guy is not open. But sometimes when you're a quarterback, you got to make the plays. You got to deliver those passes. And it feels like he's just a little hesitant to do so until they have to see the final 4 minutes of the game and some of the throws he was making then. But just early in the game, he feels hesitant to challenge those tighter windows. And I don't think the Chiefs have guys that, get very open very frequently. So it's a combo.
Maybe that.
You go.
Sorry, maybe those couple throws at the end where he did do it, maybe that's something he can carry going forward too. Maybe that builds a little bit of trust, because there wasn't a lot of separation. As the Rashid 47-yarder comes to mind, not a lot of separation there, and that is a perfect ball. And again, like, we know he can make those throws, but it's not just the ability to make them. You're right; it's the trust in these receivers too. When it's that type of a situation.
A couple of things you guys talked about, like early down passing, early down aggression, positive yards, all that kind of stuff. I do think like it does feel like there is a little bit more conditioning towards these long sustained drives than there's ever been. And they are a lot more content with positive yards because Mahomes is so good in these third and shorts, and this team is getting so good at these third and shorts that like, there was a couple of moments where I was like, oh, they didn't get positive yards on first down. Like I think they took one shot. They did take a shot and like it didn't go and it didn't land. And now you're now you're in a 2nd and 10 and now you're into a 3rd and long. And like, it does feel like there is a small mentality to that. There's an approach to that. And I think it ties actually to some of the risk aversion too, is the formula for winning games and the formula for winning Super Bowls has had a lot to do with some ball security stuff and protecting the football and playing a complementary brand. And sometimes it doesn't feel like the offense and Mahomes is doing the whole lead from the front thing that we've talked about a little bit more. Like it does feel like there needs to be a little bit more of that offense leading from the front here in 2025 than there's been. And I get I get the model, I get what they're trying to do, but like the games don't have to be close, right? The margins don't have to be slim. And I feel like this team really does need to, find a way and Mahomes needs to find a way to be a little bit more aggressive in some moments and need to find some chances to take some chances, I think that could be beneficial if they, down the stretch, and maybe they're setting it all up, because like we've seen them do that a little bit too in the past as well.
Yeah, and I think especially with this iteration, a couple of years ago, it kind of did need to be that way.
Yeah,
for them to win sustainably. But like, I do feel there's more speed, there's more talent. Like, let's open this up a little bit earlier.
Maddie, what are some of the things that you saw offensively the Chiefs started to figure out and started to find?
Yeah, we've kind of talked about it, right? I think Mahomes started throwing the ball into a little bit tighter windows down the stretch. It's hard to say because Tony Romo did a really good job of highlighting every single time somebody got open late into a play and saying Mahomes left early. There's no disputing that a guy came open, but when you watch it within the realm, you have a lot of guys at the end of a drop, and when you can clearly see a quarterback making a very normal progression through the play, no one's open. Mahomes doesn't have trust in these receivers to, I think, get open when he sees that, which is not good. I don't want to say that's good, but that's fine because he can go create, and that's where things get good. And this is where Big Lou has stopped him because they're going to rush 3. They're going to loop a spy from somewhere else. And this is why Big Lou continues to be a thorn in his side, is because when the receivers can't get open and he goes to create, they're very good at swallowing that up. Well,
which I do think, by the way, there were moments where I think Mahomes has learned this over the past with Big Lou. And I do think there were times where he was trying to hang in a little bit longer than he should have at times in the pocket to try to keep that late looper or that late addition to the rush to actually add himself. And so there's a lot going on there. Like I think that was part of it and I think he's been better about that as time has gone on, is there are times where he chooses to hang in a little bit tighter.
Yeah. And so obviously where things I think really just turned for this team is once it got back into not completely neutral, but it became the Chiefs were clearly still in this game, the Colts had to start respecting the run game a little bit. It became clear that the Chiefs were going to be willing to take Mr. Kareem Hunt and slam him into this defensive line over and over again. And the Chiefs offensive line, whether it was Trey Smith or Caliendo, were getting enough push that they were going to drive up and down the field. And you can play red zone roulette all you want and hope you get stops, but there's only so many times until a team is eventually going to score. So I think the Colts realized they did need to stop the run a little bit. They were probably tired. They're going 3 and out every single play. They're trying to get off the field. You know what sucks when you're tired? Having Mr. Kareem Hunt running for 5 yards every single time he touches the ball because you guys aren't playing the run at all. So I do think you saw the Colts start to respect the run a little bit. And as the game wore on, all of a sudden those mesh concepts, all those crossers, all the high lows over the middle of the field, a couple of them break free. Now, Rashee Rice makes some nice plays on a couple of them, right? He does a good job finally getting on his corner's toes and breaking away from it. So he creates just enough space for Mahomes to deliver that really tight one on man coverage from his end zone. A little bit later, he makes Charvarius Ward fall down by stepping underneath him. And then they step on top of each other and he catches another one. It's they finally beat man coverage a couple times on some of these crossers, but it was late in the game. And I don't know if it's defense getting tired. I don't know if the Chiefs thought process is, hey, we're going to run this 20 times. And even if we only get 2 or 3 of them to work, look what we just got. We just got 80 yards out of it. We got 80 yards running this 20 times.
That one drag from Rashid was the best drag route I've ever seen in my life. He caused that collision. I know it sounds crazy to say, but like
No, yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He gave
He
like a
steps
Euro step
upfield.
and
Yes. He Euro steps into the path of the mic. So Ward goes to follow him and they kind of click feet. And then like now you have two Colts defenders directly on top of each other because Rice pushed him into it. He essentially ran mesh without another crosser. He didn't have a guy. He just used the Mike linebacker. It's like a college play where the ref sits in the middle of the field and you run off of them. It was great. So, but that's what I mean. Like they run this so much and the success rate is so low, but it's kind of their only path to reliably, and I use that loosely, beat man coverage. But over time, and we saw it, they also hit Kelsey for a touchdown against the Broncos on a play that they ran numerous times. And like that was probably the only time mesh worked in that game too. But these are big plays they're getting off of it. So I think they do have an answer for man coverage. They just need more. But like, why it turned out better is I just really think it was the respecting of the run game. And then they finally hit a couple of big ones.
Yeah, and that's why like you can look at the analytics and the EPA for play and all that versus pass versus run, all that stuff. But balance matters. Balance still matters. Balance will always matter. Because as you said, making the defense respect your run game is always going to help out the passing attack. It's just true. So it was nice to see the Chiefs really stick with that as this game went on.
No, for sure. And I have so many thoughts that I keep wanting to try to bleed into, the game that the Chiefs are playing in like 68 hours. Is there anything else offensively you want to talk about before we do that? Because I do have quite a few thoughts.
Only quick thing. I mean, and you had it on here originally, and I know since we're trying to wrap it into the game coming up soon, I don't know how long we have, but boy, that Josh Simmons fellow's pretty good at football. He's pretty good now. Hey, I expected this game to look very good after seeing how good he looked last week against Benito and Jonathan Cooper. Like, you expected a game that's not bad edge rushers, but clearly not the same caliber. You did not expect him to have his hands full, but boy, it was pretty dominant for a lot of this. Him and Kingsley were getting some movement on some guys, but they threw Grover Stewart, one of the best run stopping defensive guys. They threw him a gap and a half over on one play. Like he was playing phenomenal football there at left tackle. The Chiefs are so very lucky that teams were afraid of his knee and or something else, because he has been, exactly what they've been chasing and needing at left tackle since Eric Fisher's like injuries and leading to ultimate like leaving the team and retiring. He's just so good. And I think the more he plays, the more they're going to trust him. Because I do think as this game went on, it's not like he gets a lot of help, but a lot of times they will have Travis Kelce or Noah Gray stop their feet to block a defensive end for a second and then release. As this game went on, I think we saw less and less of that and more of just like, okay, you're going to have to actually block somebody completely by yourself while playing. It never seemed like it was ever too much for him. In fact, he seemed like he was dominant the vast majority of the game. So Simmons, once again, passing the test with flying colors.
And I do want to say too, like I saw over the past few weeks, like this narrative flying around that like the Chiefs got lucky that Simmons fell to them. You have to give Veach some credit here. One, he did move up to make sure they secured him.
There's a lot of people refusing to give Brett Veach credit right now. It is wild. Social media is wild right now.
And I remember a lot of people and a lot of probably those same people when we were doing these draft preview shows every week and we would talk about Simmons saying, don't touch him, avoid him with a 10-foot pole. We don't want any part of him. So this wasn't a safe pick. This wasn't an easy pick. He took a swing and it worked. You have to, I don't care if it's late in the first round. He still took a chance and it's paid off. So I don't know. That's just an aside, but something I wanted to say because I don't know how you can't give him credit for that pick when it was absolutely the right pick. It's worked out. And there were 31 other teams that seemed like they were scared of him.
We're like 7 games into the Josh Simmons experience. And I think he's like one of the 10 best left tackles in football already.
Yeah.
He keeps getting better and better and better and better. I said this on the post-game show. I think that was his best run blocking performance of the entire season. I think that was a really good performance from him. And like, he's locking things up in pass pro as well. Like just doing a tremendous job over there. I don't want it to get glossed over either, because it can easily get glossed over because of the distraction of how good Josh Simmons is. And you brought up Kingsley and Simmons doing some work in the run game. Kingsley's having a very good season.
He is.
Yeah.
He's like, he is having a very good season here, and he deserves a ton of credit too. And he deserves a ton of credit for what he's done this year.
Ooh,
that offensive line
strap up for next week.
Yeah, well, especially with Trey Smith out.
Exactly.
But that'd be a big one for old Kingsley. But man, like, this offensive line is really forming into shape, and like, the Chiefs kind of have 2026 settled if they want, with Jalen Moore over at the right tackle spot with the rest of that group right now, if they so choose. So, real good spot to be in, I think, if you're the Chiefs, and you've got to love being able to get that entire left side taken care of for so cheap. But yeah, man, Josh Simmons, he just keeps getting better, and it is so enjoyable to watch him play football. There's a lot of there's a lot to talk about still about this upcoming game, because this is our last chance to really talk about Chiefs Cowboys. Before that, kind of do a little mini game preview, and some of the stuff we were talking about offensively I wanted to bring up when we're talking about this. And I know, like, hey, look, this Cowboys defense that the Chiefs will be playing on Thursday is significantly better because they've added help on the first and second level of that defense. And they did some good things against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I still think there's some reason for, they might be trending up a little bit. But here's the one piece of hope, I think, not hope, but the one thing that excites me about this matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. When you're talking about the Chiefs offense, I looked at this and I got the updated stats from Football Insights. Through 11 weeks, this is the most recent number we have. Through 11 weeks, the Dallas Cowboys are playing zone coverage 84% of the time. And that's the one thing that gets me really excited is, like, we've been talking about man coverage and stuff. Matt Aberflus does not know what man coverage is. And that is just so comforting to know that.
Can I introduce another very good point? Name a starting corner for them.
Deron Bland.
Name two. That was the easy one.
Chidobe Awuzie was there 6 years ago.
Build it 6 years ago.
I don't know if I can actually. I don't know. Kalen Carson, Savone Ravel.
There you go. That depth chart's locking in.
Trequezie Bridges, duh. Guys, like, of course. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was Bland, and then it was getting to Savone Ravel. Was essentially this guy. I mean, Kalen Carson plays a lot too, but the defensive line has gotten a lot better with the addition of Quinnen Williams, and they have played a little bit better now. They've got him back, and also getting DeMarvion Overthron back. He's a big player, good player. Getting him back. That has helped the front seven. However, that secondary still not good. It's still not a good secondary whatsoever. Yeah. And so if you're going to give the Chiefs a bunch of zone coverage, I think that is where you see, obviously, the Chiefs being at their best, especially if you get the version of Mahomes that was playing, again, the final, 5 minutes of that fourth quarter into overtime. That guy shows up with the Chiefs receiving weapons. Hopefully Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are healthy at unknown now on short rest. But with those guys being even, as healthy as they were in that game, you feel pretty good about the Chiefs' ability to, at bare minimum, move the ball. And then it just becomes, can they do better in the red zone this week versus the Cowboys? And they were able to do it against the Indianapolis Colts, because I don't foresee them having quite the same success against the Cowboys offense.
Yeah. And I look at the red zone stuff too. There were, while there's plenty of faults on the Chiefs, and, you have to hold on to the football. You had a fumble. You had the weird Jawan Taylor penalty that shouldn't have been. So they do need to get better, but you got to think too, they're due for a couple breaks. I know it's been a while since we could say that for the Chiefs team, but they're due a couple breaks down there. And I do think, I don't know what to read into that Cowboys defensive performance from yesterday, because yes, their front has gotten a lot better. The Eagles offense just is bizarre, beyond bizarre this year. Saquon doesn't look like he has juice. They haven't blocked particularly well either. The passing game was on fire early, and then Jalen had Jalen type issues as that went on. So again, I'm not trying to take all credit away from the Cowboys defense, but I genuinely don't know how much to take away from that. It was such a bizarre performance from the Eagles offense, which is what we've kind of seen consistently this year. They're definitely better than they were, but I do think, like, as you said, I think that secondary is still extremely vulnerable. And if they're going to sit in zone coverage, I think the Chiefs are going to pick them apart.
No, I do think
small sidebar. Kent's gonna love this. I know. No, I'm sorry, but did Jalen Hurts really say after the game that AJ Brown wanted 100 yards, so he got 100 yards? I hope he's happy. Was that a real quote from Jalen Hurts?
I did not see that one. I'll look into this.
I don't know. That's why I was at. That's what I was trying to clarify. Because I definitely saw it on Twitter from somebody that does radio in Dallas, but I don't know if they were tweeting as a radio person or as a Dallas Cowboy fan at the time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was in my head all day, and nobody responded when I messaged it to the group yesterday. So like, I felt really lost, and like nobody cared about me.
I gotta go. I'm sorry, Maddie. I'm sorry. Maybe chat can tell us if that was real or not. We'll just go solely off of what the chat says. We'll just full send. The pass rush gets better with Quinnen Williams being in the mix now. That's a really good player, and that's a problem. Like you talked about it, Maddie. Like I think Kingsley and probably Mike Caliendo, it sounds like, are going to need to be on their game because they're going to have a chance to get matched up against Quinnen Williams. Kenny Clark also over there for the Cowboys. So there's some challenges there in the interior for that. That's a strength of the. That is a strength of the Dallas Cowboys. It does look like Osa Odigizua, who had a great game against the Eagles, did not participate in practice. Actually, George Pickens and Tyler Guyton all don't practice for the Cowboys, or quote unquote, they would have been listed as did not participate. Doesn't sound like Tyler Guyton's going to go. We can talk about the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs now. This is an exceptional offense with some really talented football players. They run the football well. They've got two excellent receivers. They've got George Pickens has been outstanding this year for the Dallas Cowboys. But man, the Chiefs fans are just not going to let the George Pickens thing go. God forbid he's on his second football team already for reasons.
Yeah, but he's been really good this year.
He has been really good this year, though. George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Oh, sorry. What were you going to say, Hamilton?
Oh, I was going to say, whatever you want to say off the field. I mean, he still makes. I think Sunday was the first time he didn't do something to ruin the positives, which was a good step in the right direction for him. But he was such a perfect. Like I love this move when they made it because he's just such a perfect fit for
Jerry
Dak. And
I was going to say Jerry.
But like, I don't think Dak, the way we think about Dak has never gotten enough credit for his deep ball. I think he is one of the best deep ball throwers in the game. And, last year they didn't have anybody for him to unleash it. Like they're throwing go balls to Kevontae Turpin in crucial moments. That's not what you want. And he's had like Gallup in the past, Cook, but he's never had a real true dominant vertical threat like this. And I think they've just unlocked the best in each other. And to me, that's the biggest thing you have to account for is that vertical passing game with Pickens, because nobody's stopped it yet. It's unreal the success rate they've had down the field. And again, they've run the ball well, like you said, which has been huge for them this year. CeeDee Lamb outside of the drops is still something you have to worry about. But I do think like you take that away, you're able to take away that vertical component. The Chiefs can outscore them. That to me is, keeping Pickens under control is going to be the key.
This feels like a game where Jake Ferguson's going to have 10 catches for 40, but 9 first downs. That feels like where this is honestly going to trend. It's probably beneficial for the Chiefs that CeeDee Lamb has trended more to an outside wide receiver this year, despite also adding Pickens. Like he's been, he still plays in the slot, but it's well under half the time now. Whereas before he had been a lot, spent the majority of his time when they were in 11 personnel in the slot. So getting McDuffie and Watson on their two best receivers for the majority of the game when they're on the outside is probably very beneficial. We saw McDuffie play pretty well against George Pickens, who still makes, he's going to make some plays, but I would say a vertical passing game with a wide receiver who can really play at the catch point has been an Achilles heel for this Chiefs defense for a while under Spags. That's not where any of their DBs really excel. So I am definitely worried about Dak Prescott throwing not just go balls, but the back shoulder stuff or even deep comebacks. Yeah. He's really good at that. And what we saw from Pickens in Dallas that we didn't get in Pittsburgh, they use him on some more in-breakers now. Like he's caught some balls over the middle of the field in a way he never really did in Pittsburgh. And he's not the most elusive guy in the open field, but he's fast enough and kind of big enough that you still have to hit him pretty square to make sure you bring him down. So very deadly vertical passing game. We have seen games though. Dak Prescott's a guy, he's going to trust what's supposed to be there, but you can get him. You can not confuse him necessarily, but you get him. Like we always say, when Mahomes gets out from time to time or the quarterbacks, Dak's a very gettable quarterback because he is going to trust what he sees pre-snap to immediately post-snap. And if you throw some curveballs, you can get him, and he will try to throw balls with a ton of anticipation to spots, and you can get him with some coverage stuff. So the Chiefs need to make him wrong a few times, make him feel a little comfortable under pressure, because once he gets rattled, if Dak doesn't get a good read on the pressure packages that are coming or the coverage that's coming, that's where he starts to unravel. When he has a good read on you, he's operational, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL easily. But if he has to kind of change and play a little bit more ad lib, that's where I think you see Dak unravel a little bit. So it'll be another game for George Karlaftis to have a big game, especially if Tyler Guyton's not playing, for Chris Jones to back up or, stack 2 really good games together. Cause I think they're going to need to throw Dak off his game a little bit and, or it's going to be a long day.
All right. So I was debating this earlier. We're going to do this. I almost just put a bow on something earlier. We're going to do stickers, slaps, and spirits now for this last game that we just did. And then we're going to game predict for Chiefs Cowboys.
Okay. And when are we talking about Dameon Pierce?
The Chiefs signed Dameon Pierce to the practice squad today officially. And there's all chiefed up asking, what do you guys think of the plan for Dameon Pierce? That's a great question. Maddie Lane, what do you think about Dameon Pierce?
I like the addition.
Packed show, by the way. This is just
it is. Yeah. I really like the addition. I think I'm very confused what happened with him in Houston, because he obviously as a rookie had a great year. Even when he gets on the field in these very sporadic moments, like he still looks like a useful NFL running back, but Houston has just kind of refused to play him. So I don't know what the backstory is and why. I don't know how they're playing the ghost of Nick Chubb and then Woody Marks, who has played well, but like how those guys completely phased him out this year when Joe Mixon's been hurt. I don't know the backstory, but I'm glad the Chiefs were able to get him. It sounds like a ton of teams around the NFL were interested. A lot of contending teams were interested. So he must feel pretty good about his chance to get some playing time for the Chiefs. I think it probably would come more mid-December than it was going to come right away. I don't think he's going to roll in immediately and start taking some carries, although I'm sure Mr. Kareem Hunt would enjoy that, because that guy is about to need, like a giant like pizza oven flipper to get off the turf.
How many carries? I was going to ask this, because this was another thought I wanted to say for this. How many carries can the Chiefs in good conscience give Kareem Hunt on Thursday? Like, how many?
As many as it takes to win, baby.
Yeah. Use them up now.
But yeah, I would say I like the Pierce signing. I hope he gets some run in December, because I like his tempo on runs. From what I went and looked, I liked his tempo and his vision better than Pacheco's. He has obviously a little bit more. He's got more wiggle than any Chiefs running back we've seen. Brashard Smith doesn't count; he's not a running back, right? But he's got more wiggle than any other Chiefs running back that we've seen this year. Like just watching Pierce make some cuts. So I like that. I like what he brings. I'm curious to see what the Chiefs' plan with him is at all this year. But I mean, I wouldn't expect anything till mid to late December. Would be my just guess right now.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna even try to guess at the plan, because their plan for these running backs, the Elijah Mitchell of it all. It's impossible to guess at what they're going to do, but I will say about Pierce, I do think at his best, assuming, like you said, Maddie, there's not something that we don't know that happened in Houston or he's fallen off a cliff physically. At his best, he's a better version of Pacheco to me. Like you said, he's got a little more wiggle. He's got better. He has that bull in a china shop energy that you love about Pacheco, but he has it with a little bit more of a feel for the position. So if you get the best version of him, this could potentially be an upgrade, a significant upgrade for this run game. It's just, yeah, I don't know what happened in Houston, and that gives me some pause and expecting something like that. But the ability's there, and it's an exciting move. It is a potentially significant move.
All right, stickers, slaps, and whatever Hamilton's giving out.
You're sticking with $10.
Hamilton, you going $10? Who you giving a cool, crisp $10 bill to after this game against the Colts?
I gotta give mine to Chris Jones. As I said before, I thought this was the best game he's played in a long time, and it was like we said, backs against the wall, season on the line against the best running back in the league, and comes up with an absolute masterclass, a vintage Chris Jones performance, and can't say any more than that. I mean, he was as good as he could possibly be when they needed him to be at his best.
All right, I'm going to go a helmet sticker for a guy we haven't talked a lot about for this one, but I wanted to shout out at some point in this game or in this show. Brashard Smith gets a helmet sticker for me from this one. 3 catches, 31 yards. Really didn't spend a ton of time talking about him today. I know he just got mentioned just last second here, but I think, seeing him in his involvement in this offense and getting to do some stuff out of the backfield in the passing game has been a really nice little wrinkle and a really nice addition. It's fun to see the Chiefs getting him involved. And I think it's always nice to see a 7th round pick when you're building a roster, when you're trying to keep a team going, finding a little dynamic element to your offense with Brashard Smith, a nice little wrinkle. Continue to do some good things and some big moments and playing some high leverage snaps in this game against the Colts as well. So Brashard Smith gets my helmet sticker. Butt slapping, a good job, Maddie.
Butt slapping, a good job. I'm going to do something a little different with this. I'm going to give this one to Jim Nantz for reminding Tony Romo that the outside corners for the Indianapolis Colts were Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward, and that being matched up, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy being matched up one-on-one with those two guys is not a good matchup to just force feed balls outside the numbers. So good job, Nantz, for letting Tony Romo know that, because he clearly did not know. After he was reminded, hey, that was probably one-on-one because it was Sauce Gardner. Tony goes, oh, yeah, good point, Jim. Good job. I'm glad that Nantz let Tony Romo know who the corners were, because he clearly didn't when he kept begging for one-on-one shots vertically to Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy versus Gardner and Ward. We will also give a butt slap to Drew Tranquil, who I thought played a really good game against the run. He was shooting gaps, much like he did against the Detroit Lions. Hey, you got a run-first offense in front of you. Drew Tranquil showing up for that game.
At least we get to watch Romo again in 68 hours. Although this week...
It'll make more sense this week. I swear, he's not going to say it one time. There's not going to be a single time. He's going to spend the entire time saying they got to run between the B gaps. That's going to be his shtick this week, is saying they got to run in the B gap.
That's what it is.
I hate this idea that Tony Romo's gotten worse or whatever. He was always this. It's just people have gotten sick of him now, finally. But this has been it from the beginning. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
The first year was good because he's fresh out of all these meetings. He's done. He literally just prepared for the NFL. So all of the predictions were cool and edgy and we hadn't really seen this before. And then by year 2, when he's batting 33% and it's only downhill from there, you're like, wait, now it's just weird voices and obvious statements.
Yeah, that year 1 was so refreshing.
It was.
And then it required preparation. Sorry.
I still found year 1 irritating, but yeah.
But we got to predict the game. Forgot. We got a lot to do here, boys.
Let's go.
All right. Let's predict this one. Hamilton, Chiefs.
All right.
Cowboys. What we got?
All right. I think this Chiefs offense has a big day. I think they're able to force Dak Prescott into enough mistakes. 35-24 Chiefs.
I think it's gonna be an offensive scoring game, but I was trying to look up real quick when the sun was setting. If I'm not mistaken, there was a lot of issues with the sun there in Dallas. Roughly at the time that
Rashid's losing one.
Roughly at the time that this game is being played, there is in fact a huge issue because Jerry did not know where the sun was going to set when they decided to build the stadium. So that could be an issue. I'm going to take 7 points off the board from both teams. So that makes the final score 34-31 Chiefs win.
I was really hoping you were still going to make it like a 49-48 game. I'm taking a touchdown off of each. We're going full Chiefs. We're going Chiefs Rams.
Sun's going to be the best defender out there. Sunlight.
Well, that is the Cowboys' best defender. If we're being honest, I do think it's a high scoring football game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I actually think it's not as close. I think the Chiefs are going to put together a tremendous performance. They're going to carve up the Cowboys. And I think Steve Spagnuolo will have a few things for Dakota Prescott. 35-24 Kansas City Chiefs in a very fun football game. I'm very much like, this is one of the games I'm really looking forward to watching this one. Like, I think it's going to be fun to have the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. I think it's going to be fun watching Chiefs Cowboys. I think it should be a fun game. And I think the Chiefs are victorious.
And you just took my final score. So, that's fine. Yeah.
I thought you said 31. Well, I'm going 35-24 with you.
Let's go.
I don't like
more company on the bandwagon.
First he changes his name to be like yours. Now he's stealing your scores. Be careful, buddy.
That's it for
next.
That's it for Matter Day.
He's gonna have a cat next week.
There's no chance of that, buddy. No chance of that. That's gonna do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. That's Matt Hamilton. That's Matt Lane. I'm Matt Swanson. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Gonna get an arsenal of quarter zips.